So my name is Joanna Gorovoy, and I'm here from Axway. And I have a little bit of a different perspective than some of the other presenters today because we're actually a software company that has a platform for data integration, full lifecycle API management, as well as mobile app development. Can you hear me okay? Okay. And we've been working with organizations across the healthcare industry, from healthcare systems to healthcare payers, and okay, I'm just gonna hold this. It doesn't serve to be short in a lot of these things, so I'm sorry about that. So we've been working with healthcare organizations throughout the years to help them securely move their data from one place to another. Compliance has been a big, use case for us, and as a lot of the companies and a lot of the organizations that we work with move toward digital and trying to create digital experiences, we've been working with them as the standards have progressed and as technology has evolved to move to help them accelerate adoption of digital technologies to digitally transform their businesses and build better experiences for the consumers of their products and solutions and their patients. So we're kind of in the position of being an organization that helps healthcare systems, that helps payers actually more quickly adopt standards such as FHIR and build experiences for patients faster. So, the industry in healthcare has been under a lot of transformation lately, and we know all the drivers around regulation and value-based care and this push toward more of an outcome-driven model. And in working with the organizations that we have, we are seeing that they're trying to take a new approach to not only enabling better collaboration across affiliated and non-affiliated organizations that they work with to better serve the patients, to drive better outcomes, and also engage their patient population in a new way. And with rising costs across our US healthcare system, as well as this huge explosion of data that's been happening through, as a result of rapid digitization of health records across the entire healthcare ecosystem, there needs to be new ways to manage this data, to expose this data, and to make this data to derive value from the data that's being collected, right? And one of the big shifts that we're seeing in technology is the adoption of mobile. And delivering these mobile experiences is one of the things that Axway does help organizations with. So we work with some of the healthcare systems, we work with the payers. AmerisourceBergen, for example, is one of our customers. They're one of the big 3 healthcare distributors that's built a lot of mobile experiences internally for their employees and also externally for patients through pharmacy apps, pharmacy benefits apps, and things of the sort. So as we look at today's patient experience, there's all these different organizations that a patient has to interact with throughout the course of their care. And specifically, we saw some of the applications that were presented earlier, which were around management of chronic illnesses or chronic disease. So a chronically ill patient might have to deal with many different providers. They might have a wearable that they use to monitor their activity. They might work with a nutritionist or a service that helps provide them with meals. They have interactions with their pharmacy to manage their medications, pharmacy benefits administrators, and all of these different organizations operate as silos, right? So as we're working with our perspective in working with many of these different types of organizations, we see how these silos affect the interactions across, different partners. And so there's not really been a way to provide a unified patient experience. So for a healthcare system that wants to, deploy applications to help their patients, their members be able to have a more unified view of how they get their care, it's a very difficult experience to make sure that that data is integrated and that that experience is connected. And, you know, meaningful use has been sort of a catalyst for a lot of the adoption of electronic health records over the years. And as more and more of the healthcare systems try to move toward more of that delivery of outcomes associated with adoption of all this technology through, you know, initiatives like population health management and better patient engagement through mobile apps and other you know, digital services that help them keep on track and proactively monitor care of their patients, we're seeing that they're wanting to embrace and adopt the FHIR standard to quickly help accelerate that. And so the standard is helping the industry get to that point where they're able to achieve, you know, better interoperability across the various currently siloed systems. So looking back at sort of this patient experience, looking at the different organizations and the different entities that a patient needs to interact with, how can you connect all of the data from these different sources in a way that's scalable, in a way that's consistent and replicable across a large health system, for example, that may be on many different types of EMRs. So what we've learned is that interoperability is kind of a big deal, right? And it's become kind of a hurdle and a stumbling block for a lot of the organizations that we've been working with as they try to take data out of the various systems of record. Some of them are working on many different versions of EMRs as they acquire other facilities and that kind of stuff. So it's not an easy feat to provide this connected patient experience that we all talk about and that organizations we work with aspire to. So I'm going to run through just a quick scenario to kind of show you where we fit in with our platform. And then hopefully if the video will run, I'll walk you through an actual demo, a short, quick demo of what we do. So Peter's a chronically ill patient. He has, you know, high blood pressure. He has a history of diabetes. He recently had a heart attack, so he had to have an angioplasty. He's got a lot going on with his care, and he has a lot of follow-up appointments. He needs to stay on top of his care. The health system that manages Peter's care wants to make sure that he's on top of his appointments, that he's taking his medications, that he's making it to, you know, his rehab and everything that he needs to do. So they've deployed a mobile app to help chronically ill patients like Peter that have these frequent touch points with their organization, manage their appointments, stay on top of their records, lab results, be able to have communication from their physicians, medication adherence reminders, and even the financial aspect of it all. So managing his claims and other aspects of interactions with the health system to follow up with his care. On the opposite side, you have a clinician. In this example is Regina, and she's a cardio rehab therapist. And so her practice was recently acquired by this large health system that treats Peter. They're on a different EMR system than a lot of the facilities in his IDN. And she sees patients across different facilities within that same health system. So how does she get access to the data she needs to treat her patients? How does she communicate with other clinicians across the health system? How does she ensure that there's a consistent way for her to access health records, orders, input her notes, manage her scheduling across the different facilities where she has to be at in that health system? And so she uses a clinician-facing version of the application that Peter uses as a patient, which is also provided by the health system. So we talked about interoperability is a really big deal. It's difficult, it's tough for everyone. So in order to provide this type of experience, you'd have to organize and expose all of the back-end systems of record in a manageable way, extending FHIR APIs, making the data mobile ready so that it's able to be securely exposed through a mobile app. And then you need a way to build, deploy, and manage all of these applications. So now we're looking at some of the folks behind the scenes here. So we're looking at the IT side of things. Matt's the CIO of the health system. he's been charged with helping them meet, meaningful use stage 3. They want to interact with their patients in a way that's digital. Their patients are demanding digital services. But from his side, how does he facilitate access to the data that's needed while making sure that it's secure? How does he provide his patients with, as meaningful use stage 3 demands, access to their data through RESTful APIs? How does he do this in a way that's consistent and scalable, while at the same time being innovative and delivering experiences quickly for the patients? And he needs to work with a team of developers. It could be internal, external developers as well, that have to have an easy way to access data from the systems of record, such as the EHR. And so, they want to accelerate the implementation of FHIR APIs, but how do we provide that securely to developers to make sure that they're only accessing the APIs that they should have access to, and that the security layers are there for the developers to be able to create these experiences in a way that they can actually have some control over how that's done. So we talk about full lifecycle API management as an integral part of this. And Amplify is Axway's platform that combines integration, so data integration as a foundation layer, API lifecycle management, unified app development, mobile app development, and also the analytics and monitoring to ensure that the apps and everything that is in this grouping here is running optimally. And we've built FHIR support for FHIR APIs on top of that. And so it's a way essentially to have traditional IT and digital working together at the same time, understanding that these two systems operate at different speeds. So you have the systems of record here on one side, like the EHR, the data warehouse, the healthcare information system. And on the other side, on systems of engagement, you have mobile apps, wearables, and all the devices that are used to engage the patient. So I'm going to move a little bit faster here because I do have a quick video. So the FHIR APIs are pre-built on top of our platform with all the connectors, security protocols, and OAuth framework. And I think the next one should be the video.
Digital patient engagement has become a strategic initiative for healthcare organizations. A FHIR standards-based approach helps enable this. But how can we help accelerate digital patient engagement initiatives, which are underpinned by the ability to share data across any system and device? APIs must be controlled tightly, secured, and published for use and discovery by developers. Axway API Management Plus manages security at every layer, from the apps that use APIs to which APIs each developer can access, and of course security for the APIs themselves. My app portfolio includes mobile patient apps used by Peter and the clinician app used by Regina. We can control which APIs each application can access, and developers cannot use an API in their application if they are not given access to it. Before exposing a FHIR API, we can add security and protection in front of it. Virtualization is key to protecting our data, the data of our patients, our organization, and the back-end systems. We can add throttling for older back-end systems that have trouble handling high data loads to ensure scalability. When ready, the APIs are published in our API catalog to expose them to the developer community. Each developer has access to the Healthcare API portal, where they can have access to the API documentation. The developer can only see the APIs they are allowed to work with and have access to. Out-of-the-box analytics for APIs provide a view into the top active APIs or applications. For example, wearables might have the most usage because they are always on, whereas patient engagement apps might come in second. This helps me look at trends around current use, historical use, errors, and exceptions. I can see applications using FHIR APIs and identify errors while quickly assessing the impact. Having insight into the API's usage helps me to keep the quality high and continuously ensures that our APIs run smoothly, addressing problems before patients experience difficulties with digital experiences.
This particular scenario, we saw a healthcare system app, but there's definitely opportunities for pharmacies, pharmacy benefit administrators, and payers that also want to work with these standards. So, a couple of things to kind of wrap up on how we accelerate FHIR API implementation to power these digital experiences. We have a healthcare developer portal that has the FHIR documentation already there. We facilitate access to the FHIR-ready APIs, enable the secure access with OAuth and security policies, and we help our customers create, control, consume, and analyze APIs to power all these digital experiences that we're talking about here. So we'll be there for questions during the lunch break. I'm here with my colleague, Dan Tortorici, and happy to answer anything that comes up. Thank you.